What's the most useless profession that still brings in 100K plus? Reddit CEO. Actually, I would say $100,000 is about the right salary for the job. It's when it pays $30 million plus that you know there's a problem. Now, when someone like Sam Altman stands to make over $400 million from the Reddit IPO, then we might need an explanation of exactly what he did at Reddit that has added enough value to the world to justify that payout. This caught my attention. 400 million? Holy shit. Looked it up. Turns out, Sam Altman was a heavy Reddit user and invested $60 million a decade ago and holds 9.2% voting power of Reddit. So, yay, I get it, but seems like he's put his money where his mouth is and now reaping the rewards on one of his investments. Televangelist. I need 3 private jets, cause, Jesus. But you can't talk the Lord when traveling in a tube with all those demons. That was wild. That was a man possessed. In Canada, we have a Governor General, which is a leftover position from when we followed the crown. It's the most pointless job in our country, and we pay this person $350K a year, which is $50K more than what she was making 2 years ago. She also has spent more than $3 million on luxury travel expenses. I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. This lady spent $70K on a luxury limousine service to ferry her 50 feet. In 2022, Simon routinely traveled with an extended entourage, including her husband, secretary, several communications strategists, and aide-de-camp, alongside her official videographer and her official photographer, among others. The group stayed in pricey accommodations in far-flung countries, including the Ritz-Carlton in Berlin, the Great Scotland Yard Hotel in London, the 1919 Radisson Blu in Reykjavik, Iceland, and the Jumeirah Emirates Towers Hotel in Dubai, UAE. Simon & Company racked up a near 6-figure in-flight catering tab during a week-long trip to the Middle East in March, and dropped $71,000 at Islimo Luxury Travel in Iceland's capital city in October. Higher education administrators are a self-licking ice cream cone. Speaking as someone who works at a university, it's always too many of them at the top, and never enough near the bottom. As someone at the low end of the totem pole, I can say that most of us are drowning in work, with too many students needing our help, and there's not enough time or resources to assist everyone. But thank God our president can hire more staff members for his office to D around, while we get our department budget cut. Guy took a class from an undergrad, became head of department, then dean of humanities. Really nice huge office at the top of the building, more like an office compound. The room he was in with his desk, plus storage room, kitchen, meeting room, and like 2 or 3 other rooms, for who knows what. He didn't do shit. Had a receptionist in the lobby of the office. She didn't do shit. Nice guy, but his job was BS. Just going to fundraisers and stuff, and sometimes just not going, busy with dean shit. The university isn't hurting for funds, but it's like, man, they put their TAs and associate profs in basements with no windows. Priorities. Self-help gurus. But how else will I learn that the secret to success is to give them all my money? I went to school with someone who effed off to California, grew their hair out, and became a breathing instructor. $900 for breathwork courses. They also claim to no longer need food, since they get their nutrients from the sun. People to do resale of event tickets. Slimy bastards. That includes Ticketmaster themselves. The entire economy is run by slimy middlemen, and yet people only ever focus on the small-time hustlers as being slimy. Ticketmaster is the real slimy bastard mega scalper, and they are the ones complaining loudest about freelance scalping to keep us distracted. Just occurred to me, because I heard about a guy whose entire job is reselling Magic the Gathering cards, and apparently he makes a lot. There are a lot of people reselling Magic the Gathering. There are very few people, even stores, making a 100K profit. A lot of the people on social media will talk about their revenue, not profit. Which is largely meaningless. Or, they just straight up lie. Google pays my sister $250K a year to basically sign in once a day and check emails. She can't even explain what her job is. She doesn't even code. Edit, she didn't get hired right into this position. She started at the temp level 7 years ago, and has continued to apply for promotions over the years. Ended up on a team put together for some project, and Google pulled the plug on it. Ever since, they basically pay those people, just to keep them. Influencer. Nah, the real useless person is me. Influencer agent. My job is literally, just to broker deals, between brands and influencers. How do you even get a job like that? Incredible it even exists. I asked some smaller YouTubers, if they needed help with things, like title ideas, writing descriptions, managing emails, etc. A few said, yes. Then a few said, they had all these emails coming in from brands, and didn't have time to respond to them. We agreed on a percent, and I learned from there. I started making good connections with media buyers and brands, and the creators I worked with referred their friends, and now a few years later, I run a talent management agency, with a dozen employees, and we represent over 130 creators. Scrum Masters get 6 figures to ask people their status. I remember the time when our Agile coach told someone that their status was too statusy. And I thought for the money that we're paying this guy, we could probably just get an extra developer. I tell my people that all the time. No one needs a 5-minute brain dump every day. Then again, at my company, the Scrum Masters are also developers that spend maybe 5% of their time on Scrum Master things. It works great. I'll never understand a full-time Scrum Master role. A lot of middleman jobs, especially car dealers. They are glorified cashiers/customer service reps. They barely serve a purpose today with smartphones/internet at your fingertips. For example, you just Google, "I'm looking for a minivan that is reliable and comes with a hybrid option." You can go from there with further questions and even consumer reviews. Amazing. Need financing? Call a credit union or bank. Car salesmen are literally only around in some places, because it's not legal to just go to the manufacturer's site and order the car you want. Consultant, for example KPMG, Deloitte, etc. Like straight out of university, who or what DF are you consulting? And as a 23 years old, how do you have the experience to consult someone who's been doing their job for decades? As someone who used to work at McKinsey, I wholeheartedly agree. The worst thing is that it's one big circle jerk. They only recruit from top schools, because otherwise people would discover that anyone can do the job, and they would be out of business. A lot of sales jobs. I'm a tractor/machinery salesman, pays very well, but wild to me, what little impact I have in society. Most of the people that buy, were going to buy anyway, and if I was brutal at my job, they'd still buy the machinery, it'd just be a different color. I'm not depressed about it, just wild to think about, because some of the most impactful jobs in society pay the least. I'd imagine the local school teacher has a vastly larger impact on the community. As a farmer, I can confirm. I did all my research ahead of time and walked in, told the salesman to order the model I wanted and left. Came back a few months later, COVID, and paid for it. Thanks to COVID, the dealerships didn't even have models, even similar models, bigger, smaller, anything, for me to test out, so their existence was literally pointless. Well, there was that conceptual artist who got paid $120,000 for duct taping a banana to a wall. Twice. Perhaps that actually was useful and even important. Maybe it was some kind of galactic code to tell the alien scouts not to destroy our planet. But I doubt it. Boeing 737 MAX Quality Inspector. The quality inspector is fine, the issue is that nobody listens to him when he says that there's things wrong with the plane. Yeah, Boeing's mid and low-level employees accurately flagged their concerns, which were then ignored, to hit budget and deadline goals. If the allegations in a civil lawsuit are true, management failed to address production issues, placing too much burden on QA, weakened the QA team during COVID, then pressured new/less experienced QIs to ignore defects. It's cheaper than actually improving production, but that's came back to bite them. Between 2013 and 2019, they did $60 billion in share buybacks, instead of developing the 797. They could have also saved a lot of money on the 787, if they didn't try to also over-automate production. They bit off more than they could chew. Fly to Australia, and become a traffic guard on a building site. I am a clinical nurse specialist, with a master's degree, and lollipop ladies make 20K plus, more than me. Absolutely not denigrating your job, or your experience, and nurses are criminally underpaid. But I wouldn't want to work outside on my feet all day, in the heat and 40 degrees Celsius in summer, or in the pouring rain. I feel that unpleasant but necessary jobs should be compensated for that. Instead of pitting working class people against each other, we should demand that politicians, CEOs, and other rich parasites are paid less, or taxed more, to decrease the wealth disparity. Super shitty doctors that can't get a job in clinical medicine, often due to repeated board complaints, or loss of medical license, for incompetence or unethical behavior, etc., can go and work for insurance companies, reviewing, or denying insurance claims. Or open a holistic clinic with their degree slapped on the wall, but no actual license, or certs. One of my best friends had a legal kerfuffle with one of those scumbags that was taking advantage of her. Middle managers. At every single previous job I could not tell you a single thing that any of the middle managers actually did, other than talk to their managers and my managers. They exist solely to send 3 emails per day, sit in 4 meetings, and collect a paycheck. As I can see that perspective, but the truth is we have a tough gig, with demands and expectations from above, below, and from fellow, mid-managers. We do our best to divide our team's work, and more. Would write more, but bedtime. Management consultant. This was me. I'd borrow your watch to tell you the time, then bill you for the privilege. Half the time, the point of a consultant isn't to impart some arcane wisdom. It's to tell everyone what should be really obvious, but because people suck and are self-interested, the company couldn't do on its own. It lends credibility. I've used consultants this way many times. Me, we should do the thing. Executive, that's too expensive, or that's a bad idea. Consultant, you should do the thing. Executive, great idea. Social media influencer. Most that get paid more than 100+K. Only the ones that actually break through. The other tens of thousands who try and fail hardly make a dime. They're just marketing departments for brands. Like one-man operation of such. Yeah, the successful ones aren't one man literally, and they don't replace a whole department. But they cut out bunch of people from marketing for companies essentially. Or they can or whatever. They work like any other ad-supported media basically. Only it's just boiled down to the bone. The influencer is just the person, basically. Just good-looking lady, for example, taking pictures on a beach, and working out in tight clothes, and it gathers eyeballs. Which are then sold to companies, looking to sell shit to that demographic. Of course it's evolved to influencers creating certain image to attract certain brands. And so forth and so forth. So, then they're basically working behalf of the companies to get attention of certain demographics on their own. Like self-orienting, looking for ways and methods etc. A previously job, for the said company themselves. One can argue that all marketing is bullshit. Yeah, it most likely is, in grand scale of things. Corporate lawyers fighting other corporate lawyers. Lawyer is by far the most useless job in the world. Until you need one. I think this is painting with too broad of a brush. You can make that argument for some, sure, but not all corporate law is the same. Just as an example, you wouldn't say that a corporate lawyer handling regulatory compliance contributes nothing to society. Anything that involves the stock market, these guys contribute nothing of value to society. Can confirm. And I trade on the stock market. Not much. But your return is directly correlated to how much you put in. For example, one share of a stock is $100, I buy 10 for $1,000, and the stock rises to $105, and I sell. I made $50. A rich investment group, or even just filthy individual, can buy the same stock, but 100 shares or even 1,000 shares outright. Making $500 to $5,000 respectively. Some can even buy 10,000 shares, and make $50K. It's pretty easy to do, but honestly, I never understood why it exists. It's just bougie gambling in my opinion. But I'm better with stocks than poker. It's also easy to fold, before losing a lot. Okay, I'll say it, head of DEI. We threw a ton of money, and pricey IT equipment, at our DEI guy. He somehow has 4 people working under him, and from what I can tell, he just sends out emails for Black History Month. As a Hispanic immigrant, I've been a little baffled by the recent creation of these roles. They never actually seem to do much. As someone who worked for years in fine dining, sommelier, it's maybe the most useless profession ever. It's your job to tell rich people that they are smart for buying more expensive swill that tastes absolutely no different than anything else. We were paid to tell you that you are smart, as we milk you for all you have. We are friendship prostitutes, and you are nothing but a lonely, pathetic piggy bank. Pharmaceutical sales rep. But they do know the best lunch places around, so at least they have that. Sadly, doctors can be pretty ignorant about what is available, and these days, most higher-level pharma rep jobs require some form of STEM degree or master's. Sales reps are literally in operating rooms during surgery because they know more details about the tech being used than the person actually using it. Wild. Easily product management, at least the modern-day shit version of it. Because at most all you do is take down a list of things the CEO wants, you then put that in a spreadsheet or Jira, then have meetings with dev as to how long it's going to take for them to finish it, and whether they need any resource. It's complete middle management that is added, for a reason I've yet to face in my career. Often our ideas came from our software support team, so they'd make an issue of it, the product owner would come in, take ownership, and drive it to the end. There's nothing stopping dev going, that sounds good, and delivering it. The benefit perhaps is that the feature might get fleshed out or more added onto it. In my experience that's always made it worse, and then made it something that costs extra. DR, middle management. P.S. There are some companies that do product management good. There are some product managers that are good. In my experience, they continuously are let down by the management above them, so really everything is just shite, all the way up. Professional athletes. While sports is important to stay fit and healthy, a lot of professional athletes get paid ridiculous amounts of cash for a non-essential job. Nah, they get compensated based on the value they bring. I'd be more upset at owners that force taxpayers to pay for their stadiums than sit there and collect the fruits of those athletes' labor with a publicly funded stadium. At least the athletes are giving their blood, sweat, and tears to entertain us. Most jobs are non-essential. Not sure how sports is any worse than anything else related to recreation, entertainment, or art. Those athletes get paid ridiculous amounts of cash because they bring in ridiculous amounts of cash and enable an entire industry worth of jobs. Artists. You know the ones. The ones that throw a tin of paint at a canvas and get paid $3.5 million. They might not make that much. Someone might have purchased the art for $1 or $2K. Then, the million and billionaires decide it's worth more than that amongst themselves. They set a number and pass it around. Maybe making $100K, or losing it, but it's basically a marker for a set amount of money, usually hundreds of thousands or millions, over time. It's simply the fact that it's a unique item that's hard to duplicate that makes it more valuable. The only person who made a bit more money was the initial buyer/seller, and probably because they needed a few $100K and needed a marker to trade for it. The original producer gets effed, unless they know what they are doing. Think Banksy. There's a guy at my company whose entire job seems to be to let software companies try to sell him their products. Job title is VP of Innovation, and all he does is get wined and dined by tech companies, it seems. Yes, I'm jealous. I'm imagining having to sit through coffees, and lunches, and meetings, listening to desperate sales reps trying to push their programs, and fielding their emails and calls before, during, and after. Not jealous. Exhausted. Real estate agents, in cities where the predominant dwelling is an apartment. In NYC for example, Street Easy and Apartments.com give you the layout, the asking price, the previous listed prices, photo, and even video tours of some. You can do all the legwork from your living room. All they do is open the door for you, then turn around and ask for $6,000 if you decide to rent the apartment. It's such a scam. To be honest, the entirety of the global financial markets is absolutely useless. Maybe futures had a purpose when they were insuring farmers with crops at risk. Now the financial markets are a huge gambling game, with astronomical amounts of money at risk. The only even vaguely plausible purpose is to make rich people richer. We have accountants, and lawyers, and private equity people, and quants, making massive amounts of money, for nothing though. Realtor. People find their life partners online, buy cars, book plane flights, on down to ordering toothpicks, for themselves. Having a 19th century, self-propagating gauntlet of fees, for exhibiting other realtors' offerings, and then executing standardized contracts, creates unnecessary costs, that are several times, that of other developed countries. Little wonder, that a lot of that, is spent in Congress, keeping it all in place. The job I just quit. It was a residential electrical company, which is good honest work. Normally, a guy would just go out to a job, diagnose it, and either do the job right then and there, or schedule it for another day. But a couple of our guys were terrible at doing the work, but really good at selling jobs. And others sucked at sales, 'cause they're not crooks, but are great electricians. So, my company separated everyone, into salesmen, and installers. Selling and installing jobs nets you 10% each. Nice and even, right? The problem comes up, when you realize that the salesmen sell like 3 jobs a day, and installers typically do 1 or 2 jobs a day. So, salesmen usually make around 3 times as much as installers. And jobs that take multiple days, means that installers' commissions, are spread out over multiple days, while salesmen, get it all at once. One salesman sold a $80,000 job, and an installer is doing the job over the course of 10 days. In one day, the salesman makes himself $8,000. But the installer makes $800 a day. Still, not bad money for the installers at all. So, we can't really complain. But if an installer has an apprentice helping him, then 2% of his commission goes towards paying his wages. So, installers are really only making 8%, $640 a day for that particular installer. Also, that guy doing the 10-day $80,000 job, is actually taking more than 10 days, because of customer shenanigans. Eventually, they're just gonna pay that guy hourly, because he'd make more money instead of spreading his commission so thin. All this, and the responsibility of the job, is placed solely on the installer. In conclusion, the salesmen make 3x as much as installers despite doing almost none of the work, having none of the responsibility, and they're crooks, on top of all that. These panels, they have us swapping out, do not need to be changed. I swapped a spotless 2-year-old panel, proper voltage and everything, and when the homeowner asked me what was wrong with it, I was at a loss of words. There was nothing wrong with this panel. But I can't say shit, because the guy already paid for the work, and salesmen make the company money, so they don't listen to my ideas. Now I have to deal with a pissed off customer, and of course the salesman won't help me out of the situation. Those salesmen are parasites, who only benefit the company. Thank you for reading my manifesto.